Welcome to the Think Factory podcast. We got one question for you. What keeps you up at night?
Welcome to the Think Factory podcast, powered by OGC Solutions, the podcast where we explore the ever-evolving landscape of business. My name is Olga Vahal. I'm a partner with Outside General Counsel Solutions and the chair of our Corporate Immigration Services Group, and I'll be your host today. I'm very pleased to have with me Gilad Segev, also known as the Collaboration Man, an investor, advisor, serial entrepreneur, and award-winning author with a specialty in setting collaborations between small and medium companies and multinationals. Gilad specializes in helping executives achieve rapid scaling by forging strategic collaborations with large corporations, unlocking growth opportunities and boosting credibility, applying the proven Collaborate for Success method. Welcome to the podcast, Gilad.
Thank you. It's a pleasure joining you here.
Wonderful having you. So you do a lot of things, which we'll get into. But before we start that, can you share a little bit about your career path and what led you to your current role?
Yes, with pleasure. My career path starts at the academic stage is legal studies. I'm a lawyer with an MBA on international marketing. And then I took a variety of roles in the corporate world, from a finance director in the diamond industry to marketing, international marketing in the food industry. Later on, I managed a financial company. So I've done several roles, and practically for the past almost 20 years now, I'm active as an independent consultant for industrial companies on their business, international business development angle. And within that, like you said before, I specialized in setting collaboration, which we'll probably dig into what is a collaboration later, but setting collaborations between small, medium companies and the multinationals for mutual benefit of both of them.
Excellent. Very interesting. So you're functioning as a business growth advisor in business development and international marketing. Tell us exactly what it is that you do. Describe it for us.
Maybe I'll touch a little about what is collaboration, because it's a hot topic these days.
Yeah.
Right? And obviously we've got different legal titles for two companies deciding to join forces, from obviously a limited liability company or LLC, which they might form together as a joint subsidiary, let's say. But then we've got other options like joint ventures, partnerships, right, which are all legal terminologies and got legal standing. Obviously, when we've got lawyers on board. Mm-hmm. And then we've got collaborations, which is a bit softer. Obviously, you can draft it in an agreement, but collaborations are a bit softer understanding between two people, and could be two executives of two different companies, obviously. And collaboration is in existence only as long as it's beneficial to both sides. If one side decides it's no longer beneficial because of whatever development or whatever something happened in real life that affects this interaction between these two companies, then they can just stop doing it, right? There is no need to go and to dissolve a collaboration. It's not a partnership. It's not a legal entity. Obviously, if things are written down, it's easier to maintain them. And us as lawyers, we like things to be written down. But in general, a collaboration is a more fluid, a more gentle terminology of deciding to go together to some joint goal or respond to different interests together. So I think that's the introduction to the topic. And with that in mind, I believe that there are interests with companies other than the financial interests, right? It's obvious there is a marketing manager and a sales manager whose job is to get the revenue coming in, and we are all in a capitalist world. That's the main purpose of the company, right? But apart from that, there are other interests. And if we think of, let's say, a medical device company, right? A small startup in a medical field. And if we go and say, okay, we're going to connect you with, I don't know, General Electric, right? Then obviously it's easier for all of us to understand that the small company may benefit from the laboratories of the larger corporation. They might benefit from branding. We are working with this large corporation, so it helps us close other deals. It might help them secure investors if we are talking about startups. It might help them with learning procedures that any multinational obviously is working with a long list of procedures. Startups many times are missing that, and they might learn it from their larger counterparty. And on the other side, obviously, there has to be a benefit for the multinational to work with this specific startup. And it could be agility, that it's very hard for a large corporation to tackle a new market, and this startup is very agile and can move and shift and touch areas where the multinational might need great investments in even approaching such a target market or angle in the market. It could be geographical markets, right? We take a small company in a specific geographical market, and they are best connected to their market, and it could be a very good asset for a multinational wanting to penetrate to that market. So there are many benefits that the multinational can enjoy from a smaller company, okay? And we are all focused mainly on revenue. I'm trying to shine the light and say, no, revenue is not everything. There are other interests that drive corporations, and we can benefit from them, meaning we as the small company and we as the multinational also can benefit from that interaction, from that collaboration. So that's what I do.
Very interesting. And what types of industries or companies do you work with? Any particular description of a company that suits best?
First of all, everything we said is relevant to any industry, obviously, and any company just needs to identify the right interests and the right benefits, etc. So it's true for everyone. My angle in the big market is working with companies that eventually they develop something tangible. It could be a device, a product, even a service is tangible service. Mm-hmm. I'm less focused on algorithms and software companies. It's not my forte. But other than that, it could be from fields of chemicals, it could be from medical devices, it could be foods, could be toys, right? Could be, I've got a company now in the textile industry. My activity is to shine the light on the relationships, on setting the collaborations. And identifying the interest is the important stage. And then obviously transcribing to the other side, what do we mean by our interest and what can we do for the other side? And that's drill down, that's deep drilling into the company's interest is true for any company. No, it doesn't matter what the market is.
Right.
Obviously, so I will deal only with family friendly products or services, not in things that are not family friendly, let's say.
Okay, good. And how and when would smaller companies approach you? So clearly not right at the get-go when they first launched, but where's sort of a sweet spot?
I think the sweet spot, the sweet spot of going out, okay, is in if we're talking about startups, right, who are going from seed money to round A, B, C, etc. It's at the stage where they financially are stable enough to look outside. The initial stages usually are internal, recruiting engineers and developing a product, etc. It's at the stage usually at round 2 or sometimes round 3 that they're already stable enough, the team is steady, they know what the product is, even if it's not completed, even if it's at beta stages, but they know what the product is, they can start communicating it outside, and they have enough team members to deal with external relationships. Right? The first stages is always managing engineers in developing a product. It's all internal. So that's the stage. It could be larger companies that are in the market for 20, 50, 70 years. And they need to touch a new market because the market evolved. They need to go to a different angle. They want to collaborate with larger organizations because the market shifted a bit for them, or because there is a change in management who see the world a bit differently. So it could be also not a startup, it could be a steady company, right? But it's not an international player, it's not a multinational, it's a local company working for 50, 70 years, and it's the right time for them to go out. It's the same evolution.
Interesting. Okay. Sounds interesting. So can you give us an example of how this would work with a small company producing, something from your experience that would work? Why would a larger company come to you and say they need a smaller company in this particular market?
No, usually the larger companies will not come to me.
Okay.
Because they are busy. Imagine any executive in Disney or any executive in General Motors or in any whatever multinational, they're busy. They're not looking for anyone. They don't have time even to go there. But they do have interests, and they do pronounce their interests, right? Obviously, many of them are public traded, so everything is known, right? There's no secrets. And they will testify and say, we are planning during this year to go to the Indian market, right? We are intending to go to South American market or whatever. They will testify usually what their intents are not the secrets, but the general intentions. So they would usually not approach. The approach would be from the smaller company, and then, like we said before, we'll dig into their needs and identify which of the multinationals, or it doesn't have to be a multinational, could be a domestic company, but which is much, much bigger than them, right? Which company will respond or help them in the stages they need to grow. So we need to understand their needs. After we understand their needs, we need to see what they can contribute to the equation. And then we need to see which of the multinationals are interested in whatever they have to contribute, right? Because if we have a American company who wishes to expand their reach into Brazil, okay? And we have a Brazilian company with, interests in development, in laboratories, like we said before, let's say a pharma company who is interested in using laboratories via collaboration and not paying for the time in the laboratories. That does not mean that they can help the multinational who wishes to go to Brazil. The fact that they are Brazilian is not enough, right? Mm-hmm. They need to have the connections in order to respond to their needs, to the large company's needs. So all of these questions has to be responded with a positive ticking of the box, right? Everything has to fall into place, and it might take a little time, usually not so long, okay? Because everything is soft knowledge. We're not developing any products by that, and with that, we start approaching the multinationals and saying, listen, we understand from your website, from whatever you testify, that there is a need that you wanted, and here is a smaller company that might fulfill that need, and they would be happy if you fulfill their needs, right? And if you say it in the right manner to the right people, usually they say, okay, let's start talking. Let's see how we can develop that. And that's the job. That's the trick, right? To pass the right message to the right people in a way that these very, very busy people will say, okay, that's interesting. Let's talk further.
Absolutely. Takes a lot of finesse on your part.
I think, by the way, if you're looking for example, if I may share, Alka, we are in some relation, not currently, but in the past, and we started that relation with triggering some interest in the previous firm that you were involved, and the interest was relevant. And suddenly this big firm said, yeah, this smaller company that you were talking about is interesting for us. Let's see what we can do, right? Mm-hmm. And from that, we developed a longer relationship. And even if that story is not relevant today, but it's an example where, we did not know each other before that, but the interest aligned and we learned to know each other, right? We became friends, let's say.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is exactly the idea, right? Taking that and building it into a set structure where a client can come in and understand exactly what the process is, what the structure is, in order for their company to go to the next stage.
Right. Interesting. So what would you say is your most notable accomplishment so far?
Notable accomplishment. Wow. First of all, I will say that I only work with companies and people that I like. So that's my most notable accomplishment, I think, that I'm able to choose the people I work with, and I enjoy it very much. So that's the main accomplishment, I think, to enjoy what you're doing.
Absolutely.
And when I talk to marketing and sales managers, or CEOs, obviously, I always say, okay, which of your product do you like the most? And meaning you like the impact it does on your clients, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's the best or the most important accomplishment in the industrial market, right? To make sure you enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah, in any market, not everyone gets that choice to work with who they like and do what they want.
Yeah, so I think that's that's the highest accomplishment. And in terms of examples, wow, there are so many. There was a chemical company many years ago where we identified a governmental interest in a different company, a different location, by the way, in Australia, okay, where this specific product was answering a specific need of a specific office within the government of Australia, a specific concern. Obviously, the government is not a client for this field, but they were very concerned. Mm-hmm. And it's the same structure, right? You go with a smaller company that have a product, you identify who is the larger multinational that responds to that product, or that product solves their need, and suddenly they say, yeah, we are very interested in hearing your story and how can we help, because you are basically helping us. So, we don't really want to help you, but you are helping us. So it becomes part of the transaction, right?
Mhm.
And that's the enjoyable part, where you see a smaller company flourishing and passing barriers and growing stronger.
Interesting. Yes, that must be wonderful. So you had some interesting experiences during COVID. So for most people, COVID was significant change. Things shut down. A lot of businesses couldn't operate, but you view it a little bit differently. You viewed COVID as opening a lot of opportunities. Tell me a little bit about that. How did things change around COVID?
Well, COVID is an example. I just today had a meeting with a company, and I told him, look at the Trump administration. They are changing things. Okay, I'm not talking about is it positive or negative. I'm not going there.
Mm-hmm.
But they are changing. They're making changes. And these changes are going to impact the industry that this specific company is playing, right?
Mm-hmm.
They are going to affect your industry. So it's not a matter of bad or good. It's a matter of effect. There is an effect. And maybe today you don't feel it because you are so small, and this is macro elements, macro changes, global changes. But you need to keep your ears to that angle and see how that will affect you in 2 years, in 1 year, in the future, right? Because it's going to affect you definitely,
Mm-hmm.
positively or negatively, right? I think every effect is positive. I think there's opportunity in anything, but you need to understand what's going on in order to choose the right opportunity. So COVID was the same, right? COVID closed everyone. All of us learned that Zoom or other virtual meeting platforms can serve us in our businesses. Obviously, all these platforms and Google Meet and Zoom were there long time before COVID, but suddenly in COVID, everyone knew they're there.
Mm-hmm.
And it changed us. And for me personally, during COVID, I was in a phase of working with small companies, and obviously everything was closed down. And we were dedicated to searching for opportunities. And for smaller companies, right, there are many opportunities that COVID brought. Let's go to the smaller example, maybe just to illustrate, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if your small business was to go into office buildings and sell lunches, right? You go with a box with sandwiches, and you sell the sandwiches to the employees in large corporate buildings, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly COVID came and there are no employees there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before that, this small business was very happy to go between 3, 4, 5 buildings, and that's all. And that was his financial structure.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly, these buildings were closed, okay? So basically, he can run out of business, very simply, COVID. But if we look at that business, there are opportunities, because this employee now is working at home and his kids are at home. So suddenly each employee that knows you and you sold him a sandwich every day, if you offer to deliver the sandwich to his home, you can sell 4 sandwiches to him and his kids because they are at home. Or maybe not sandwiches, maybe you go to better meals, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But what I'm saying, there is an opportunity, because this businessman or lady were in front of, let's say, 1,000 employees daily, where they sold, I don't know, 1, 2, 400 sandwiches a day.
Mm-hmm.
But all these 1,000 employees know them and trust them. And suddenly they're at home, they're not in the office. If you can deliver, each of them multiply by 4, because he's got 2 kids and his husband or her husband or his wife are at home as well. So suddenly 4 people instead of one client, you grow your business.
So true.
Okay, so there are opportunities everywhere. Every event brings opportunities, but you need to be flexible enough in order to enjoy from them. And that's also where multinationals sometimes find it harder to do the shifts. And smaller companies, it's easier for them. And that's also a way to set a collaboration. Okay, we are stuck in our corporate thinking, but you are very agile, and COVID came. Let's think of some way where we cannot be so agile, but you can. Let's do it together.
Sure, that makes perfect sense. Very interesting. And so, how has remote work affected your business? I'm assuming you're going to say it's created a lot of opportunities.
Yes, it's great. First of all, during COVID, I wrote a book. So it took a short time out of COVID where I was sitting and writing. I wrote a
Oh, excellent. Tell me about the book.
Collaborate for Success, which is like a manual for how to set a fruitful collaboration. It's chapter by chapter. You go by stages. Is basically it's a manual. It even comes with workbooks to download PDFs. So some of COVID passed by writing the book, which was bringing the theoretical practice onto the pages.
Mm-hmm.
And then, as you say, I focused on smaller companies, and it became easier to approach companies through digital platforms, which before that was a longer process on, let's say, LinkedIn. Okay, let's talk, etc. This is what I do, and a long process. Now suddenly everyone was at home and everyone had the Zoom working. So it became, okay, let's set a meeting on Zoom and see how we can fasten our relation because we can see each other. And it was easy. You didn't need to explain what is virtual meetings because everyone was there.
Right.
So it shortened the road for interactions. And for me, it was a game changer as well.
I can see that. For me as well. And the best thing to ever come out of COVID was all our video calls, and kind of everybody got used to it.
Suddenly you didn't have to invite clients for coffee and lunches.
Right?
You can do it in 20 minutes on Zoom and carry on your work, right?
And it works for everyone, right? They don't have to take up so much time on their day. In and out. So we talked a little bit before, and as an immigration attorney, obviously my world was all about things that are happening with immigration in the U.S. at the moment. But tell me about how immigration affects your clients and your business around the world.
Well, like we started, it all depends on the industries, right? But I look at immigration as part or some of the questions we ask when we dig into ourselves, into our needs and our interests. And if we are, for example, a food company, or we have some product that is related to language, right? Mm-hmm. Then it's relevant to see if our clients are immigrating currently or immigrated, or not the clients, the population that we deal with, right? If we are, I don't know, if I'm a company of Indian food, I might look into Indian communities in other countries, okay? If I'm a company that developed some service helping translate needs or translate something from Spanish to English, for example, then I would look to the Spanish people populations in the English-speaking countries. It's not only in the US, it's Australia, it's England, it's Canada, right? Mm-hmm. So we start with the product. We start with what we do, because you're not going to change your company because some group immigrated. But if an immigration is relevant to your audience, then we start looking for opportunities around the immigration. So that's how I look at it. First of all, the company itself, and if you have something unique in terms of culturally unique, then immigration might lead groups of your cultural clients to other territories, and you can grow there.
Yeah. You take a very world view of things, which not all small to medium-sized companies do. So you can get them into alternate markets that they would have never thought about.
Yes, and I think today every small micro company even has to think globally because of the events, because of the shifts, because of the trends. So part of not having all the eggs in one basket is also having clients in other countries, in other states, right? The US is a very big territory, so it doesn't have to be other country, it could be other states. If my business is in LA and there were fires now in LA, many of my clients were affected. It could, even if I was not affected personally, if I don't have enough audience in, let's say, New York or Chicago, then I might go bust just because all my clients were affected by the fires, right? So protecting the business in with a global view is much easier today than used to be 20 years ago, right? So
Yeah.
I think that means that not only large corporations can think global, but also very small businesses, companies, can look at the global or the multi-state arena if we are in the States or other states as a spreading the risks, mitigating the risks.
Absolutely. And what advice would you give to business leaders looking to navigate challenges in the next few years?
I'm not saying anything new. I think that it's important to observe that great changes happen periodically. Okay, great changes meaning here now we see the stock exchange, right, dropping, okay, because the political situation and the taxes and it's affecting. Few years ago we saw the COVID, okay, so great events, great financial event happened periodically once in, depending how you calculate it, but could be 3 to 7 years, there is a global event. So changes and, like you say, challenges come anyhow. I think we need to look at them and see how they, first of all, to be prepared, and then to look at them how they provide opportunities. And obviously, every challenge provides different opportunities. And when we look to the future, obviously, we don't know what will happen. We don't know how AI will change the world, if it's going to create less job opportunities or more job opportunities, which jobs are going to be almost eliminated and which jobs are going to be born suddenly that did not exist before. So there is a question mark there. We only know that there's going to be a change. And when leaders look ahead, I think we need to be flexible, to know that we need to plan on the business side for the short term. And when we look at the long term, not to think as in the past, what is our 15 years or 10 or even 5 years plan, but look only 3 years ahead, because in 3 years' times, everything is going to be different anyhow, and manage a business with a vision of 3 years ahead. And with that, I think it's easier to deal with the coming challenges, which will come anyhow, right? They're coming anyhow.
What would you consider to be the most significant issue driving change in the next few years? AI, geopolitical climate?
I think there are 3 change drivers, right? Obviously, the political, geopolitical elements, we see the tax war or taxes impact change or impact currently happening, which none of us know how it's going to happen or where it's going to evolve, but it's happening. A few years ago, we saw the war in Ukraine, which obviously made a huge impact on everyone. Before that was COVID is not geopolitical, but these are geopoliticals. We see the climate changes, right? The climate is changing, whether we like it or not, right? Climate is changing, and that's an issue. Okay, we see more floods, we see more mud floods, we see more storms, hurricanes or typhoons, depending where you are. And these, with the earthquakes, okay, Africa is now divided into two, right? We see it visually now that Africa the continent is divided in a process of being divided into two. It's not going to finish probably in our lifetime, but it's a climate issue. So the climate is an issue, and many businesses are affected by that. And obviously, like you said, AI meaning technology, right? Technology is changing, and it's an issue. We need to be aware. Where is it going? Okay, the COVID is one of its main contributors are the technology, meaning that we are all traveling around the world, the airplanes, right? The airports. Okay, that's what got COVID spread so fast, because people are traveling.
Right.
100 years ago, it would have been a local disease.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's technology, and AI is technology. So these are the three pillars of change, I think: the geopolitical, the technology, and the environmental.
Absolutely.
And not all of them are relevant to every company, obviously. Each company, each industry is affected differently, but by each of these.
Interesting. But these are the three main drivers that you think will.
I think so, yes.
So what opportunities or challenges are you looking for in 2025?
I'm not looking for challenges. I don't think anyone is looking for challenges. And fortunately enough, the opportunities come by themselves. You don't even need to look for opportunities. If you are focused enough, they come by themselves. So I'm looking to make a greater impact, to work with more interesting companies, and to help them grow faster. And I'm looking for the impact, to make an impact, to help companies flourish. That's my goal.
Excellent.
I enjoy the impact.
You want to improve the world, Gilad, don't you?
I'm not ashamed to say that. I think it's good. It's a good target.
Exactly. It's a very good goal.
It's a good goal. Yes.
So where can people reach out to find more about you or get in contact with you?
Obviously, LinkedIn. Gilad Segev, like you said, collaboration man, will pop up very fast, or through my website, which is eng, like English, eng.segev.blue. Blue as blue ocean, okay? Not com, but blue. So these are the two easiest ways to locate me. And then, yeah, all through you.
Oh yeah, of course. Always
through the
me.
podcast.
You can always reach me at avahall@ogcsolutions.com. I can always connect you to Gilad. I have one last question for you, Gilad, that I did not prepare you for, but it is the traditional question we end all of our podcasts with, which is, what keeps you up at night?
What keeps me up at night? Making sure the family is well cared for, that everything is set, that relationships are good between the family members. That's an important, as I said, I try to work with people. And on the business side, I try not to stay up at night. If you do what you like, I sleep well.
That's right. And you're a problem solver, so nothing to worry about.
I really look at, like you said, as problem solving, not as problem solving, but as opportunities. It might be disguised sometimes, but as opportunities. And with that, it's easier to go to sleep at night.
Absolutely. And what a wonderful way to look at it. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Gilad, for spending some time with me. This is Alka Bahal signing off the Think Factory podcast.
Thank you very much.